Hey everybody, this is Ryan from Team Secret. We wanted to go ahead and provide a number of decks today with the new announcement and suspensions of Jango, TDR, and DJ. We know everybody's kind of trying to figure out what they want to do, where they want to go ahead and play at their locals, regionals, sectors, and PQs. And we all had a couple of ideas. And by no means is this an inclusive list or these are the best decks. Just a few ideas to go ahead and get you started with the new meta that's coming up here starting Friday. And like I said, if there's any, it's not an inclusive list. So if there's anything you guys think that you would want us to talk about, go in more depth, go ahead and post it down in the comments, or you can join our Discord. We have a section where you can go ahead and post any type of deck ideas, brews, anything like that. And the community goes ahead and discusses and has a bunch of just talks about everything going on in there. And if there's any type of content you want us to go ahead and add, leave a like and put a comment down there, and we'll definitely go ahead and look at it. Thanks.
All right, so Kira is my pick, and I'm probably the most excited person here because for the last like 2 months, I've been grinding Quinlan to help my teammates get ready for Beatle in Atlanta. And Kira was like not in a particularly great spot. Jango was a hard matchup last set, and as we all know, Jango just got, turbocharged this set. So it was just really difficult for her to kind of exist. And so I'm really excited to test her out now and see how she's doing in the new meta that we have. I've been playing Kira since she was released. She's always been super fun. She's got one of the strongest leader deploys, I think, really impactful for board. Lets you compete with even like fast aggro decks, helps you stabilize. Um, and then on the flip side, like her ability to give shields can be pretty impactful in certain matchups and situations. You get to play, I'll just say the best card in the game, Overwhelming Barrage. And I know some people absolutely don't like that card, but she gets to play a lot of cards that like, maybe in set one or two, a lot of us were like, oh, this card's OP or whatever, but like a lot of these cards haven't really had a home for the last, at least month, maybe even dating back to set three, like, Darth Vader, Overwhelming Barrage, things like that, like in a vacuum cards that, everyone would say, like, okay, these are strong, you know, but like there are not really an archetype or a deck that kind of showcases them lately. And she's a good leader for that. She also just has like a good matchup spread. She doesn't have any like, incredibly good matchups, but she also doesn't have any terrible matchups either. So, for me, like, I really enjoy that play style, like having like game into a lot of different leaders and archetypes, and you feel like you have a chance no matter what you sit across from. And this includes, I listed some of the top leaders here, Han, Quinlan, Sabine, um, and just being able to have a kind of flexible and adaptive play style is really fun. And I think Kira will be back in the mix.
Yeah. So my pick was Sabine. I think someone had to pick this, especially if you're going to an upcoming sector. Richmond's within the next 2 weeks, and I think it's really easy to go back to what's been a very strong proactive deck for the first 3 sets of the game. Um, I think during that time frame, almost all the time it was the consensus that Sabine ECL kind of edged out the yellow version, and I think the beginning of set four that actually flipped around. So I'm not 100% sure which way people will go, and I don't want to anger the Sabine yellow cabal, so I included them on here. Um, if you think Quinlan is going to be the most popular deck, then it might make sense to go that way. If you want to play some of the cards that have people have mentioned might get banned before, like ECL or Battlefield Marine, according to some people. You can play the green version. But there's also just kind of a sentiment in the community that, DJ's gone, we can play really expensive leaders again. And I think people are going to remember very quickly that Sabine flipping on 4 resources is another reason that those decks kind of struggled in the past.
All right, my pick is Anakin Colossus. So the reasoning being, this deck has flown kind of under the radar in the early JTL meta until just recently its debut performance breakout in Liverpool, where it reached top four and it lost in top four to Jango. I talked to Joshua Freeman Birch, who was the player who had that breakout performance, and he mentioned that the worst matchup is Jango, which he ended up losing to. So Jango being gone eliminates that. And why it's particularly good right now in the build with Colossus. Um, Colossus gives you the extra HP that you need to survive against a lot of aggro decks and even aggro to mid-range strategies. And then this specific version of Anakin Colossus utilizes Stilo with a package of a bunch of tactics at every different cost curve. And Stila benefits off that pairing with Colossus because you have to damage yourself with Stila to get its effects, to get more cards when you don't necessarily start with that many cards in Colossus. So having the extra health benefits Stila, having the um, extra cards from Stila benefits Colossus. And then the tactic package is just great in both red and blue. That combination, you have Daring Raid, Direct Hit if you need it, Fell the Dragon. And outside of those points mentioned, Force Throw, one of the strongest cards in the set and in the meta. Andrew mentioned that uh, Overwhelming Barrage is the best card in the game. When I was talking context of Anakin, perhaps another leader on this list, Force Throw is the best card in the game.
Definitely can. Also, as we learned earlier, force throw is not a tactic. Just wanted to point that out.
Yes, yeah, it is one of the cards, one of the only cards in this list that is not a tactic. I think the other one is, well, non-unit cards that is not a tactic, and the other one is probably Perilous Position.
Yeah, so my pick is Quinlan Tarkentown. This was a leader that just showed up in set three. It's definitely been one of the most popular decks set three PQ season, and to start this in Seattle and the couple sectors that have happened so far, as we've found out, being a five resource 3/7 leader is very good, especially if you have the force trait because then it pairs well with force throw. Other than that, you have a bunch of force units in this deck, and as Sunny just mentioned, force throw is one of the best cards in the game, and it's only going to get better from here on out. That being said, it's probably the best remaining Cunning Heroism deck with reasonable matchups into everything. Especially like Michael said earlier, if a lot of people are going to bring out these control decks with Colossus, you have a very good discard package to go with Quinlan, and you also have a lot of great smuggle cards like Cassian, L3 if people are cad baning your units, and also Hotshot Blaster. Some other cards that are also great are Targentown, Plo Koon is great to counter other flips that leaders are doing. And yeah, you're just not going to really have a terrible matchup unless it's Sabine Yellow with Quinlan Tarkentown, but you're not really going to thrive into anything. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here on out.
And my pick is the Han Green. I feel like the loss of DJ, while it is going to have impact on the deck, by no means I think that it's not going to. I don't think that it's that high of a plan. It was never plan A in most matchups. In some matchups, it was very good, like your control matchups and your slower strategies. But I think that the deck has so many different avenues that it can play the game. As we've seen, Sunny has played the aggressive pilot strategy in Atlanta and in Denver to great success. Um, I prefer the longer or the slower late game strategy where you get this mix of cards like your pilots with Falcon and Chewbacca on turn one, turn two plays into a turn four resupply into your late game. I prefer that type of strategy. Being a Vader enthusiast, I love that, and that's just the type of game I really enjoy playing. but I cannot, emphasize enough how messed up Chewbacca is. That card is putting it on a Falcon on turn 2, getting 6. Yeah, there's the Chewbacca right there. Getting a 6/6 or a 7/7 worth of, on turn 2 of damage is just silly. And then blue villainy decks, if they don't have initiative and they don't fire off the power of the dark side immediately, like they're gonna have a hard time dealing with that card. It's just crazy. And if that's game plan 1, you can then transition that into your late game of Ewing reinforcement, Enfys Nest. We saw blue green strategies playing Radis. That's a 7 you can get off of Ewing reinforcement, and Han still very much a card that's going to be played. You can play this late game with a lot of decks into home 1 reinforcement walker if you want to go that high, and it just has so many different avenues that they can play the game and give so many different decisions. And you're still playing tech, I think. It's I don't think it's getting cut. It's still such a very powerful card that when it's out there, despite some decks just wanting to ignore it, you're just going to have a second hand basically. And I feel that this deck has so many options, and it's going to reward a lot of good decisions, that it has to be something that's on your radar. And I cannot emphasize enough how good this deck is, personally. These were our 5 decks that we went ahead and thought would be really good starters to the new meta for anybody looking for something to play at their locals coming up on Friday, PQs, sectors, regionals coming up here in the next several weeks to a month. And tell us what you think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Tell us, whether you agree with our list of several ideas, if there's something we left off that you think is definitely more important than what we went ahead and had here. And don't forget to like and subscribe and join our Discord. We love having more people in the Discord talking about different ideas, and it's open to everybody. And you can go ahead and throw your decks in the channel or talk to others that have already put the decks in the channel for Bruce. And we look forward to go ahead and communicating with you more, and see you guys on the next one.